So it's great to be here. My name is Natalie. I work at Birmingham Women's Hospital as an equality, diversity and inclusion research midwife. So this is an NIHR funded role and I work with a really great team, and Emily Payne is our research midwife PI. So let me just introduce myself. Who am I? I think it's really important that we start saying kind of who we are and our background stories, because we are it's very easy to think you might know someone, but actually everyone's got a story behind them. I'm really passionate about health inequalities and about making change in research. I have only been in midwifery for the last 12 years or so. Before that, I did some teaching work and publishing. I am very passionate about food, absolutely love cooking and baking. Been recently introduced to Johnny cakes through my partner's family, which are savoury Jamaican dumplings and saltfish. My faith is really important to me and really impacts some of the decisions I make in life. I love sport, play hockey and football and lots of different things. So these are all different aspects to who I am and kind of contribute to why I'm here today, I think. So let me explain. We, in Birmingham, we know that there's a lot of challenges. And in fact, we are kind of the third most deprived city in the UK. And you can see the top statistic there. Actually, 41% of our population live in the most deprived household. And that is one of the highest rates, I think the highest rate actually in the UK. You can see also there's a Black Ear report, which is the Black African and Caribbean communities did their own research. And you can see that quote about how women feel about the NHS. There were some Please Just Listen events where we actually listened to what women were saying about their experiences. You can see the image, that's a Somalian women health profile. So our city council have created these health profiles. And we know that I'm not going to go into our statistics about Embrace because I'm sure everyone on this call knows about the fact that if you're Black or Asian, then you're more likely to have poor outcomes. And in fact, a lot of what we're saying today ties up with what Etienne and Sue talked about the fact that having low iron has a significant impact upon other things. And we know that the global majority are more likely to have preterm birth, for example, are more likely to have poor outcomes. And there are so many connections. And that's why I'm here, because I really think that research, and as Simon said earlier, that our data needs to be good data, because it needs to be representative of the women that we're serving and the birthing people. That if it doesn't represent the women that are in our care, then care will improve only for those that say yes to research. And I think that's really key in all the sites here and how they deliver. I know there'll be lots of differences, but I'm just going to share a little bit about what we're doing at Birmingham Women's. And so I've got a video which has some audio, and I'm hoping this works. If not, there are subtitles, so you can just read as you hear.
Inclusive research is an exchange, a learning curve of cultures and communities. It's seeing past white walls and listening closely to the underground, taking off lab coats and opening doors for the grassroots and voices round. Inclusive research is thinking outside of the box, unlocking benign thoughts to sift through contradiction. It's consideration and deliberation, a reinforcement of morality. Inclusive research is redefining this space between you and me. A new sense of purpose, hoping out loud, a belonging beyond surface. Inclusive research is the opening line of a storybook in which the central characters represent us. Demonstrations of real-life experiences, demystifying myths in an open conversation. Inclusive research is enabling and not empowering. We are born with power, a development of an alternative bond, binding answers with the truth like solid gold, like a handhold. Inclusive research is being in touch, keeping in touch, a human touch, building relationships with people instead of brick barricades. A movement, no, this is a revolution. Inclusive research is not a tick box exercise. It isn't statistical or satirical. It's not a to-do list or the last to line through. It isn't an afterthought.
So that was created by BRAG, which is a Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic Group Research Advisory Group. And I just think it really summarises why inclusivity is important. So this started back in 2023. I started to look at actually what is our data like? Are we doing a good job or not? Are we representative? And I contacted research studies and actually was only able to get some data from them. Some studies weren't even collecting ethnicity. And it's only half the picture because it would only be those that consented. So what we did is we looked at our maternity notes. We looked at ethnicity. We looked at index of multiple deprivation. We looked at additional leads and language. And we compared our consents versus our births. And that was over financial years. So we did that 2023 to 24, 24 to 25, and I'm just waiting for the most up-to-date figure, so our stats are a little bit behind. Then I went on to kind of look at where the gaps were. I met with different community groups. We looked at what changes we could make, and then we started to kind of evaluate those. So some starting stats. So we looked at about over 6,000 births, 15 different studies. We excluded certain studies. So one was a generation study, which had a very large number of consents, and we were looking at comparing, so we've got the stats with and the stats without. And we looked at who we'd screened, who we'd consented, and who had not gone on to consent, so essentially declined, because that also showed the bigger picture. So we screened about 800 in a year, led on to about 400 consents. It was about 2,000 points of contact. We worked with 13 interpreters, and at that point in time, we had 8 research staff. So we talked about our kind of cultural awareness. These again are some slightly older stats, but you can see the two charts. So on the left, we've got percentage in research, on the right, across birth. So these ethnic groups are obviously grouped together. We do have them all broken down, but just for clarity and for ease, I have grouped them. I know that there's a lot of intersectionality between the groups. You see the first 4 groups, they are fairly representative, which is great, but we have a very large overrepresentation of white British and underrepresentation in Asian women, so 22%, even though there's 34% of births. We looked at IMD scores. You can see actually we approach women between 10 and 12% across all the different IMD groups, which is significant. You can see that if they're in the most deprived group, they're more likely to say no, which is not surprising when you consider kind of the barriers, the social complexity, the comorbidities, digital poverty. But we know that research would be most beneficial for these groups. Small stats, you can see actually in 11 out of our 15 studies, the highest proportion of those screened for research, which were in the most deprived groups. And actually that reflects our births as well. 58% of the interpreters are actually needed for Asian women, and a large proportion, research can make a significant difference to them. So these are some more recent stats. So you can see we've got generation study there in green and other maternity studies. So actually together, our maternity research makes up about 64% of our research across both trusts. And then some more recent stats. So again, this shows exactly what I was showing before about birth versus consents and research. You can see white British is still overrepresented, and Asian women are actually, we've had an increase from 22 to 25%, but actually they're they are the largest population group at the moment. So they are the majority at 36% more than white British. And that was in the last financial year. So what have we been doing? Well, we have done some staff training. We've looked at kind of cultural awareness in the team. We have a Padlet with resources specific to health inequalities and why the importance and nuances and learning about different groups. I know this is something that you probably all do, but we have kind of personalized our research delivery. As we're screening, you know, we know the women that we're going to speak to, whether they're first-time mums or it's their sixth baby. It really changes what you will say to them. If they've had previously bad experiences, if they need any reasonable adjustments, asking what is helpful and making those changes. If they need an interpreter, we are booking or thinking ahead and actually being prepared. We have an app on one of our phones so that we've got the privilege of working with face-to-face interpreters, but actually we also have good access to things like Language Line. We also ran an event last year, which was a health event in Balsall Heath. We had, this is just a visual illustration of the event. We had about 22 women attend and 7 different languages spoken. So we had kind of multiple translation going on, interpretation going on at the same time. We had some hand massage and Mendy. And actually, it was a really significant event. It was a kind of a soft approach to research. We had doctors and midwives there, and it was about signposting and supporting these women. And another bit of work we've done is working with interpreters. So our consents have actually increased. So our overall consents were 9% of all our consents were for women who did not speak English as their first language and needed an interpreter. And that increased to 70%. That's a really significant growth. And part of it was about training and working with the interpreters, helping them understand about Embrace, which a lot of them weren't aware of, and the fact that they need to be advocates for these women, and why we do research, actually about improving care and about representation. We have also, our next kind of what we're doing is looking at resources. So we created a video a while ago, which I can show you, which is just a really brief kind of introduction to research. We're going to create some more with just some different faces to show that, to address some of the barriers that we have identified. So again, this had subtitles, so if you can't hear it, I'm hoping you can read it. It's just a short video.
How can research benefit you?
Being involved in research can mean extra support above what is offered as standard care.
Research midwives like us are midwives too.
We often have more time to answer questions.
There are currently more than 15 studies to meet different needs.
We can be a point of contact in your pregnancy, and if we can help in any way, we will.
Birmingham Women's Hospital is a big training hospital, and research is one way we can improve care.
We know that hospitals involved in research give better care.
Evidence shows that women who take part in maternity studies are 25% more likely to have better outcomes for them and their babies.
Your experience in pregnancy are important.
It could make a difference to another family's life. If you want to know more, ask a midwife or call or text on 07971 069 368.
So another thing that we have created is like an FAQ document, so like a myth-busting document, looking at some of the questions like who will be looking at my notes? Am I just a guinea pig? What's involved? Do I need to speak English? All kind of, is my data protected? All barriers and things that actually women want to know about. In addition, we've got like an infographic that just talks about representation as well. And I've just written in text here, transparency in research documents. So this is a document that we're currently working on because we're aware that faith and culture impact women's decisions. And we want to provide information to support with that. So like at NASIV, we always ask, is IMP kosher, halal friendly, vegan, vegetarian, because these are the questions that women ask. And we want to be transparent and actually be able to share with women about the studies that we're involved in. And we we know that actually sometimes decisions will be made that might be no for a study, but I think we feel it's better that we are as transparent as possible, so that even if they're saying no at this point, maybe they've built up some trust about research or built some awareness about research. And if we approach them about another study, they might be more likely to say yes to that study. So these are just some of the things that we are working on. So just some final thoughts before I finish. Just some questions. So how can we call it evidence when the evidence doesn't see everyone? And how can we call it progress when the progress leaves people behind? Research isn't complete until every community knows it carries its name or their name. Just some questions for you to think about. And these are some of the things that we've been looking at trying to address. So with the resources that we're producing that are generic, we're hoping to introduce them to women and see actually does that help in their decision making. So if you have any questions, you can either get in contact via my email or reach out to the study team and they can pass on my details. I know this is being recorded and I'm happy to kind of take any questions now if we have time.